What is up, you guys and girls? Shiv here from the Shadow, back at you today with another attack strategy video, and this one is going to be the how to use hog rider. Well, was that crucial? The how to use hog riders. We already did such a video on how to use balloons, where I told you that hog riders and balloons is pretty much the same thing. The basic principles, the fundamentals, they are all just the same in hogs. You just have to tweak numbers a little bit because of spring traps. Their vulnerability to spring traps, while balloons, they do not even care where the springs are. We also discussed about the cyclic art of troop deployment, where you want your hog riders and balloons to make some clockwise or counterclockwise motions across the whole perimeter of the base. We discussed why do you want to do it that way. We discussed how would you actually do it that way. So if you haven't checked out my how to use balloons video, I strongly recommend that you go ahead and check that out first, because most of the things, they are going to be the same and we are not going to repeat that. If you have already watched that video, this one is going to be a walk in the park for you. Welcome to Chef's Clan or Mechanics. Alright guys, so this is going to be the first base in question for today's video, and the region within the polygon is what your hog riders are responsible for. Let us quickly try to identify the primary layers. Now if you ignore the cannons and the mortars that are left outside walls, they are just a decoy so that you cannot directly target the defense in the primary layer, but your actual primary layer is still going to be the same. It's still going to be represented by those black lines. Yeah, so this is the primary layer and the yellow lines is your secondary layer. If you watched my last video, this is going to be just a walk in the park. If you did not, you are not going to understand the thing here. Now let us quickly identify which defenses are your flanking defenses. Now firstly, before identifying Dal, let us know what exactly the plan is. Now he does have a Tesla farm here, which actually happens to pop up during mid raid, of course. So Manus here, or whatever, who is the attacker, Taraj here, adjusting the fly here, uses a few hog riders onto this farm. Let us quickly change the colors just a little bit so that it's easy for you guys to understand. So this is how he starts with his hog rider deployment pretty much, and he wants his hog riders, the main group of hog riders, to go inside the base and to stay here. Now the problem is this whole group of defenses. Now if you look, the hog riders, they tend to stray around to these defenses, and they will always do that unless you get all of these defenses eliminated. Now if you want to get all of these defenses eliminated, it is going to take a whole lot of investment. You are going to have to invest a ton of hog riders. So what he actually does is, what the attacker actually does is, he comes in with two groups of hog riders. He has one group here which he wants to so let's get this out of the way. So let's get even the distance out of the way. He has one group which he wants to stay inside the base, kind of like in this fashion. The other group, he wants to come in with this here, just to funnel his primary group. And the third group, he wants to come in within like this mortar right here, and then he wants it to join his main group. So that is kind of like the plan. Let us quickly identify which defenses are the ones that are actually responsible for messing up with your hog pathing. Now I think this archer tower here is going to be something. Where is the circle? The circle is here. This archer tower here, the mortar here, of course. Now these kind of defenses, you might argue, but once again guys, it's going to take a whole lot of investment of your hog riders if you want to deal with all of those defenses. So that is why he adjusts the plan here. He does decide that he is going to come in with two main groups and one secondary group, to be honest. So this is kind of like what he does right here. Even the Tesla here, I would say. Yeah, that is going to be pretty much it. Now you know the next step is destroying these kind of lines. The hog rider is brown color, right? So brown lines for the hog rider deployment. This is how, now this particular line on the Tesla is not actually what was planned, but this was actually what he does at just mid-raid. So pretty much we have drawn like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. That means you need at least 2 hog riders per line, so you need at least 10 hog riders. Now notice here you have 18 hog riders. So the numbers, you're going to decide the numbers this way. You're going to write 2, 2, 2 next to each line. Sorry for my bad handwriting, just it's not this is not a pen and paper, right? So anyway, you're going to write 2, 2, 2 next to each line. Maybe you're going to use this option right here. You're going to use your keyboard. Yeah, the keyboard writes very well. Anyway, you're going to use your keyboard, or 2 to 2 hog riders here. Whatever is left, you are going to adjust that. So how you're going to adjust that, once you write 2 on all of these lines, pretty much you have 8 hog riders left. Now how do you want to use those 8 hog riders here? The attacker here decides to use 2+3 here, then he decides to use the CC hog riders here and some more like 2+2, all of that. So that is pretty much free, guys. Whatever you can do, you just need at least 2 per each line, and then anything you drop in as extra is just a bonus. So this is pretty much about the hog riding on this particular base design. Before watching this attack into action, basically, let us discuss about the timings. What is happening to my English these days? So starting in the color, it's not easy stuff. Explain something, but so he starts in with his main group here and here. His main group sort of like goes to this cannon. Now, what I like about this particular attack is he does use only 2 hog riders on each of these defenses, and the reason is that there is a possible giant bomb location. He does not want many hog riders to go into that giant bomb location, else he would have to force a early heal spell. That would actually force a early heal spell. So now his hog riders, once this cannon is gone, the hog riders, the next closest defense is going to be this archer tower or this wizard tower. I mean, they would have a choice here. So what he does is he actually comes in with more hog riders onto this cannon and gets this archer tower taken care of before this cannon is taken care of. What that does is his main group of hog riders sort of like stays inside the base, and then it's going to stay inside the base for the whole remainder of the attack. Now that is what he exactly does with the second group of hog riders. His second group of hog riders is gonna come from this mortar. It's gonna then head to the cannon, then to the wizard tower, and then it's gonna stay inside. He does not want it to go to this archer tower, so he comes in with some hog riders straight into this archer tower. Now once this archer tower is taken care of, both of these groups combine and end up merging with the primary group, and that is where the raid ends up at. This pretty much this whole entire section of the base, which does have an archer tower, mortar, all of that stuff. This is how the raid shapes up. Let us watch this into action. The timer is 1 minute and 36 seconds approximately. When the first of the hog rider groups make it into the battlefield, he is gonna send more hog riders at that 9 o'clock cannon. He wants to get that archer tower taken care of before the cannon next to the dark storage is gone down. Now those 2 lovely hog riders are now on the giant bomb next to the Tesla farm, and also get the Tesla farm taken care of because the golems were still tanking for them. So this is the power of those hog riders, guys. Look at that. His second and third group of hog riders have already made it into the battlefield, and now all hog riders are going to stay inside the base. There's no reason why they go outside. Now just keep an eye on the timer. Still it is like 1 minute, so it's only 35 or 36 seconds that have passed and the defenses are already collapsing. That is the power and that is the beauty of surgical hog riding, guys, and that is what I was saying about when you have to keep the defensive DPS as low as possible. It is just about eliminating all of the defense in the base as quickly as you can, and this is the power of deploying your hog riders in that cyclic kind of fashion, because it also reduces the hog travel time. I mean, your inside hog riders, they stay inside, they do not have to go outside, and that meandering kind of pattern we talked about. This is the end of this raid. Let us quickly move on to the next one. Incursion for today's video, and the rectangular region is what your hog rider is responsible for. Just feel free to pause the video, guys. Take 10 to 15 seconds. Give this base a hard look, a really hard look, a hard stare, I would say, and just think what are the primary layers, which defenses form the secondary layer, and what are the flanking defenses, how many hog riders would you require at least for the base, and then where would you invest your extra hog riders. Just think all of that and just come back and look at whether the guys at the shadow actually do what you decided to do. Alright guys, welcome back if you are really back. Now this cannon right here forms the primary layer, this is the primary layer, this is the primary layer. I would just not call every defense by its name, but I mean, you get what I mean. The black lines are the primary layer and the yellow lines are the secondary layer. Now the archer towers, guys, the reason is that you cannot directly target those archer towers. I mean, if you deploy your hog riders here, they are going to go to the cannon, or they are going to go to the wizard tower, just because of the way this is set up. So it kind of works like that. Now what are the flanks? Basically, what is the plan here? I mean, he has a simple plan. It's not really complicated. He wants to come in with some hog riders onto this cannon. His hog riders are going to get a nice split here. Then he wants both of these groups to sort of like, it's a tributary and distributary rivers I'm talking about, if you're wondering. and then he wants all of his hog riders to stay inside and then take any of the remaining defenses that the kill squad does not get. This is kind of like the plan. Now, which defenses would interfere with this plan? The first of all, this wizard tower is going to interfere with the plan. The archer tower, the cannon, and these defenses right here. So these all are the defenses that will actually interfere with the plan. Now you cannot do anything about the last second archer tower, so you can do anything. You can do everything about the cannon. Now what I do not like about this attack is that he does not do anything about this cannon. He does not do anything about this. He does do something about the mortar, but he does not do anything about the wizard tower. That is what I do not like. The reason why he does not do anything is he has only 17 hog riders. Now look at the section of the base that he wants his hog riders to deal with, and he is bringing only 17 hog riders. Now of course he's a skilled attacker and he does pull it off even with 17. And he also brings 5 hog riders in the CC, so that does help. My handwriting will always stay bad, right? But if you are the attacker, you are going to bring in more hog riders and you want to deploy it on those back-end defenses, guys. I mean, just do not ignore those back-end defenses. Now he tries to directly target this wizard tower, but this does not happen. His hog riders go to this mortar and then go to the wizard tower. Anyway, it works fine, guys. I mean, this mortar is like a decoy, set as a decoy here. Comes in with more hog riders sort of here. Not forgetting to mention his main group of hog riders for the cannon at the top, and then just one more hog rider kind of. This is pretty much what he does. Let's quickly move on to live attack, because you guys already know, I mean, there's no use of delivering a monotonous lecture again. You guys already know what we are talking about. You guys already know what is the deal. I mean, you have been doing it like since 4 to 5 times now. And once again, guys, I just would like to say one thing. I mean, there have been many people who have been saying that my videos are a bit lengthy. I would say watching a 15-minute video that teaches you something is a lot better than watching a 2-minute video that teaches you nothing. Now that balloon from Manus is something fancy you see. You know Manus is a down online on his main account, so he always does some fascinating stuff on his Town Hall 8 account. You do not have to do that, guys. I mean, this is all Manus's fantasies, and you never ever need to do those balloons. Look at those hog riders getting those wizard tower gone, and now his main group of hog riders sort of like going to stay inside. Comes in with more hog riders on that Town Hall section down at the bottom, and his main group of hog riders. You always want to use your spells, be it a balloon attack or be it a hog rider attack. Whatever spells you have, like your rages, haste spells, or your heal spells, you always want to use them on your main group. You never use them on your flanking groups, because you want your main group to keep alive, because it is the one that is dealing damage to the major section of the base or to the defenses that are inside. It is the one that is actually taking the beating, while your flanking groups, they are only to get that funnel, only to get that path. Now what you actually saw Manus doing earlier in the raid with those hog riders on the cannon is he was just trying to adjust, because his king does go on a walk on this base, so the kill squad was not a really well performed. It was a well planned but not a well executed attack, I would say. So this is the final base. It's kind of like an anti-2-star Town Hall 9 base layout, and the reason why we are doing an anti-2-star base as the final one in this video is because some of you guys feel that these strategies do not work on anti-2 bases. So I'm just kind of like marking the layers out for you, and that is pretty much it for the primary layer. Only 4 defenses in the entire primary layer, and everything else is your second and third layers, guys. This is kind of like what your second layer is, and if we have to mark your third layers, which color should I use? I think this is kind of like your third layer if your hog riders even make through it. Yeah, that is pretty much it. Let's quickly discuss the plan. What does you actually want to do? So he comes in with some hog riders from the archer tower at 3. Wants his hog riders to stay inside the base. Even this region right here, even all of this, these group of defenses like the inside of the base, unless they backtrack to the cannon, it is pretty much okay for the attacker, who is Captain Electric from Storm Factory. That is a family clan of Storm and Dune. No, I think the Dune War is the name. So he wants his hog riders to kind of like stay inside the base and move around in this fashion, and that is pretty much it. Now what defenses do you think he has to get rid of to actually get this plan going? 3, that's it. It starts simple, guys. It is not something that is really complicated Latin. It is very simple. I know as my video moves on, some of you guys who were at their homes were like, okay, now you are going to draw our hair. Yes, hog riders are gonna come in here. These are the flags, these are the layers, all of that stuff. I know you guys were predicting it already at your homes. Some of you guys are from the hardcore community, some of you guys are from the more casual communities. But I would like to say that there is a Chinese proverb that if he can do it, I can do it. And if no one can do it, I must do it. So it works that way. If the guys in the shadow can do it, if the guys in the top competitive clans can do it, you can do it. We do not have any special troops or any special abilities that you don't have. You know, it just works that way, guys. We are humans, you are humans. We are not aliens, and if we can, you can. So just believe in yourself, just trust in yourself. Do not expect that after watching this video you go live onto your wall attacks and just try it and just you will get success. No, it does not work that way. It's a process, it's a progression. If I tell you about my personal experience, when I started practicing Go Live alone, seeing Jake from One Hive's videos, I was like at a stage where I used to 0-star in wars. At Town Online, I used to get a 0-star in like the mid 40 percentages. But I did not get disheartened because I know this is gonna work. I was like, if those guys can do it, yes, I can do it. I mean, some things are not going right, some things are really going wrong. Maybe it's like your heroes are a much lower level. If that is the case, you are going to start 3-starring bases at a lower defensive strength at your own town level. But just do not get disheartened. Just do not go back to Go Walk or Go Wipe or something else just because your Go Hogs are not working. It is gonna work, it does take time. You're not gonna become an overnight 6-star champion. It takes time, it's a process, it's a progression, and for your knowledge, this is not something that I think will happen. I have experienced it. We have done it here. You can do it too. We don't have something that you don't have. Just believe in yourself, guys. You will do it one day, and just do not get disheartened. Be it a 0-star failure, be it a 1-star failure, let it happen. It is for good. You will notice one day, it's gonna happen after a few minutes, it's not gonna happen in a few days, but it's gonna happen one day. Now, it's not gonna happen in one day, but it is definitely gonna happen one day.